Thank you. Everyone. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the President and Board of Trustees of the Village of Tinley Park, Cook and Will County, held on Tuesday, October 17, 2023, beginning at 6:32 p.m. In the council chambers. Everyone, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Everyone, please stand. Remain standing, please. Trustee Brady.
Lord, please grant this world with peace and harmony. Please let no more innocent blood be shed in anywhere in the world today. Let there be peace. Wars are always a defeat. Prayer is the meek and holy force to oppose the diabolical force of hatred, terrorism, and war. Lord, please open up your arms and accept those that have perished in all of these conflicts. We ask this in the name of the Prince of Peace. Amen.
Thank you, Trustee Brady. Madam Deputy Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Brennan.
Present.
Trustee Mahoney.
Present.
Trustee Mueller.
Here.
Trustee Shaw.
Present.
Trustee Sullivan. President Glatz.
Present. Thank you. Item number one, I'd like to ask the board for a motion to consider approval of the agenda.
I'll make that motion. I'll second it.
Thank you. Madam Deputy Clerk, call the roll, please.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Brennan.
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney.
Yes.
Trustee Mueller.
Yes.
Trustee Shaw.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item number two, I'd like to ask the board for a motion to consider approval of the minutes of the regular village board meeting held on October 3rd, 2023.
So moved. Second.
Madam Deputy Clerk, call the roll, please.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Brennan.
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney.
Yes.
Trustee Mueller.
Yes.
Trustee Shaw.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion carries. Next, we would like to do item number three. Receive presentations of the Tinley Park Business Spotlight, A Journey Through Time, Nationwide Aquatics, and English Garden. Is Journey Through Time present? Trustee Mueller?
Please join me in welcoming A Journey Through Time Aquatics Emporium, located at 17030 South Oak Park Avenue, which features aquatics, vintage jewelry, antiques. Antiques. It's not an aquatic shop.
That's the next one.
Oh, my pupils dilated today or something. Vintage jewelry and more. We are pleased to welcome
Yeah, try that one. Jameson by
Jameson.
Let him try it.
No, we're not going to try that one. The owner of A Journey Through Time.
Thank you, everybody, for welcoming me in tonight. My name is Jameson Bialik, the owner of the antique store. However, we have some aquatics. There are turtles on the floor. I was told it was supposed to be the sea. So we specialize in fine antiques, vintage items, collectibles, and mid-century items. We have 3,000 square feet. We're open every day of the week. We invite people to come in and take a journey through with us. A lot of people like to walk through and see all the different stuff that's in there and see the memories that come back to them, you know, and we're in it for, obviously, to have people take those items home with them. But we have lots of different items, anything from the early 1800s all the way through collectibles that are Barbies and stuff, you know, from nowadays. So I just want to thank everybody for inviting us here. We're glad to be here. We're glad to be on Oak Park Avenue here in downtown Tinley, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Just a question, where do you get the antiques? Do people come in and bring them to you, or you go to garage sales, or?
We do a little bit of everything.
Oh, okay.
Stuff comes from a lot of personal collections and a lot of hunting. A big fun part of it is the hunting and finding things and getting something that you can bring in and, you know, bring it back to somebody else.
Okay, thank you.
Nationwide Aquatics, are you here? Trustee Bill Brady.
Bonjour.
Sure.
Bonsoir. Go ahead, trustee Brady.
Nationwide Antiques,
See what we did there?
I see what you did there.
at 17034 Oak Park Avenue, specializes in a diverse range of tropical fish and aquarium supplies. Please join us in welcoming George Garcia as the Nationwide Aquatics. George?
Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Thank you for having us. We are freshwater fish suppliers. We've been servicing the Chicagoland area and the country because we ship since 2018. Honestly, my son grew up a little bit. We got more free time, and we wanted to settle into the south suburbs, which we have been a part of for about 20 years now. And we look greatly forward to sharing our expertise. The shop is primarily ran by me and my wife over there. We specialize in bringing in oddballs and rare species from around the world. We source our fish ourselves from different parts of the world. We make contact in Africa, South America, parts of Asia. So we bring in really interesting species, and as someone who's very passionate about his craft, I enjoy taking the time to talk about what we bring in, shed light to new opportunities and things that you can house, keep, and enjoy. And looking forward to trying to share that both with the community and then possibly doing some teaching exercises. I've done talks in the past, so I'm hoping to just grow into Tinley Park as much as I can, and yeah, stay in business.
Thank you very much for picking Tinley Park. We are glad you're here. Wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, George.
Is there any saltwater fish? Did you say no saltwater?
No, sorry. We're freshwater enthusiasts. I don't want to misrepresent myself and offer an intricate part of the hobby that I know nothing about.
Oh, gotcha.
We do have like 2 great saltwater stores in Tinley that I'm aware of.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you for being here, and thanks for choosing Tinley.
Next, we have an English Garden, 16800 Oak Park Avenue. Provides high-quality flowers, plants, and gifts for all special occasions, deliverable worldwide. We are pleased to welcome Kim McAuliffe, owner of an English Garden.
Hi, how is everybody? It's nice to see, I see so many faces and places that I know, so it's awesome. Okay, I'm Kim from An English Garden, and I've been wanting to be a florist since I was 18 years old. I'm 29 now. And I was so happy to be able to move one of my shops down to downtown Tinley Park area. Always wanted to be on Oak Park Avenue since 1994. I was able to make that a reality in 2019, I want to say. 2018 started negotiations, 2019 made it. Can you believe we're celebrating 5 years? 5 years in downtown. Thank you. Many more to come. I am the proud owner of the Fulton Home, which I've been dying to purchase in 20 to 30 years. I would love the Vote Home too. Putting that out there. We do fresh flowers, silk flowers, using antiques as mediums. I work with dried, fresh, flocked, wood, silk, artificial flowers. So I'm able to put different mediums together in order to make whatever anyone would like. Weddings are our specialty. We do funeral work. Everyday orders, people can come into the shop. There is about 3,000 square foot on the first floor. You can come in and just browse and walk through each individual shop. I emulated it after, or into every individual room. I emulated it after Lake Geneva because I always like that look and feel. So think of an old historic house built in 1844. That's when the Fulton Home was built. I was told that by the Fulton School named after that, and one of the founding families. Now I get lots of visits from the descendants of the Fultons, and I get lots of people coming in descendants of the Votes, because those were the 2 major families at that time, and they chose to, 2 people fell in love and they got married, and there you go, you know. Dick Post saved my building that I'm in the 70s. And if he did not save that beautiful, magnificent house in the 70s, I would not be there today. So that's about it. I'm just very proud to be there and proud to be in Tinley Park. We also live here too. All right, any questions? Because I don't walk away from questions.
Anybody?
1, 2, 3 questions.
I don't have a question. I would just like to make a comment that I live in the neighborhood there, and I think you did a wonderful job on the property. It's good to see a thriving business there. My wife and I, we've hosted homecoming pictures at our house for a number of years now, and when I'm cleaning up, I have found dozens of your boxes strewn around, so I hope that's a good sign for your business.
That's a good sign. That's a good sign. We take pride in our work, too. I have a total of 15 people, and some of them have been with me for, oh God, since the early 90s, I want to say. 84 started in my field. About 94 really went full bore into it, owning my own shop. But early 90s, just starting out, testing the waters. Takes a couple of times, it takes a couple failures, but you can, if you stop at 1, 2, 3, 4th failure, if you stop at any of that point, where are you gonna be at? So I always tell people, don't stop, just keep moving forward. You know, everybody has stuff in their way. Anything else?
I'd just like to add, your building, obviously, what you did with it is just absolutely beautiful. And
Thanks.
so, it's a great location. You can't miss it. There's nothing blocking you. You stop in, get yourself some ice cream, pick yourself up some flowers.
You're right, right, and I think it's the prettiest building on Oak Park Avenue, honestly. I'm biased, but when you look at it and you're like, that's the charm. Who would ever have thought to tear that down, you know? And you look around, and I go up and down, and I don't want anything torn down that's historic. Anything that's historic should be preserved, is my feeling. So I have my eye on 2 other buildings, don't know what I want to do with them, but it's just my goals. It's not about money, it's just goals in life. Cool?
Thank you, great talk.
All right.
Thank you, Kim.
Thanks, guys. Thanks very much.
Next, we have item 4. May I have a motion to consider the approval of the consent agenda items?
So
I'll
moved.
make,
Go ahead.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Consent agenda items have been publicly posted and available for review on the agenda for this meeting. Would anyone from the board like any of these items removed from the consent agenda? Let the record reflect there are none. Madam Deputy Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney?
Yes.
Trustee Mueller?
Yes.
Trustee Shaw?
Yes.
That motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Just want to add from the one item on there, the MOU with Village of Orland Park, Cook County Commissioner Sean Morrison, and Paul O'Grady, our Orland Township Supervisor. Look, this is, I think, is going to be very helpful, so thank you to all the staff that helped put this together. Look forward to working with all 3 of them. That motion carries. Next, we have item 5. I would like to ask the board for a motion to consider adopting ordinance 2023-0-061, amending Title 11, Chapter 112, Section 22, permitted number of liquor licenses.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Due to recent closures and/or changes within existing establishments, the following changes to the permitted number of liquor licenses are proposed as followed. This item was discussed at the Committee of the Whole held prior to this meeting. This ordinance is eligible for adoption. Anyone from the board care to comment? Nope. Anyone from the public care to comment? Madam Clerk, or Madam Deputy Clerk, please call the roll for item 5.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney?
Yes.
Trustee Mueller?
Yes.
Trustee Shaw?
Yes.
The motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Next, we have item 6, Trustee Michael Mueller.
I move we consider adopting Resolution 2023-R-133, approving a contract between the Village of Tinley Park and Roy Zaneri trucking, and excavating for cul-de-sac snow removal.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mike.
Please help me to approve a contract for snow removal by a qualified contractor for 252 cul-de-sacs and eyebrows throughout the village of Tinley Park. Consider awarding a contract to Roy Zaneri Trucking and Excavating in the amount of $328,123. This can vary based on the frequency and amount of snow and ice control required, but Mr. Urbanski assured us that it's going to be a low snow winter, so that's going to be good. And this item was discussed at Committee of the Whole just prior to this meeting and is eligible for adoption tonight.
Thank you. Did you see him crawl out of the ground?
For the amount of snow?
Anyone from the board have any comments? Anyone from the public here to comment? Madam Deputy Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Brennan.
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney.
Yes.
Trustee Mueller.
Yes.
Trustee Shaw.
Yes.
The motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Next, we have item 7, Trustee Michael Mueller.
I move we consider adopting Resolution 2023-R-134, approving a contract between the Village of Tinley Park and Primera Engineers for helipad improvements, construction, engineering services.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mike.
Please approve Primera Engineers for helipad improvement, professional construction engineering services contract. Please consider awarding a contract to them in the amount of $230,850. This item was discussed at the Committee of the Whole held prior to this meeting and is eligible for adoption tonight.
Thank you. Anyone from the board have any questions? Anyone from the public have any questions? Madam Deputy Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Brennan.
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney.
Yes.
Trustee Mueller.
Yes.
Trustee Shaw.
Yes.
The motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Next, we have item number 8, Trustee Michael Mueller.
I move we consider adopting Resolution 2023-R-136, approving a contract between the Village of Tinley Park and Area Inc. for helipad improvement dry utility relocation project.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mike.
Please approve a contract with Aries Inc. for helipad improvement dry utility relocation contract in the amount of $233,650. This item was discussed at the Committee of the Whole held prior to this meeting and is eligible for adoption tonight.
Thank you, Mike. Anyone from the board have any questions? Anyone from staff care to comment? Mr. Urbanski.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I would just like to mention that in the action line of this item, that it did not carry over from our earlier committee meeting, that along with the contract with Aries, we have a contract attached to this packet for ComEd, Comcast, and MCI for moving their equipment. The total contract amount for all of these agencies will be a higher amount, so I don't know how we want to propose this for board action.
It's the same amount that was passed at the COW.
So right now, we're stating in this action line that it's just the contract with Aries, but we also need to amend that to include the contracts for,
That were passed at the
The
COW.
400,000 number?
yeah,
428.
428, 486 and 12 cents.
Yep.
Paul, how do you want to?
So we have
Just
to
move to
have a
amend.
motion to amend to adopt those companies and amounts as described by the
Can you-
director.
Can you get the exact number?
Can we, somebody just?
I've
read
got
them?
it up.
It's in the board.
I just read them and make a motion to amend the ordinance, or to amend the action item to include those companies and numbers. And then we need a second and a vote.
Trustee Mueller?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to append the existing item to include its Comcast and MCI. Is that correct, John?
It's ComEd, Comcast, and MCI.
ComEd, Comcast, and MCI in the amount of $428,486.12.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Now vote on the amended ordinance.
Madam Deputy Clerk,
Amended action item, I should say, sorry.
call the roll.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Brennan.
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney.
Yes.
Trustee Mueller.
Yes.
Trustee Shaw.
Yes.
Motion carries. Are there any questions? You wanted to then call it again?
It was a good catch, John.
No, we have to vote on the first item.
So is there any, before we vote, is there any questions? Nope. Madam Deputy Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney?
Yes.
Trustee Mueller?
Yes.
Trustee Shaw.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, John. Thank you, Pat. Anyone from the public here to comment on item number 8? Let the record reflect there are none. Next, we have item number 9, receive comments from staff. Would anyone from staff care to comment?
I'll just quickly note, we're now the proud owners of the former sports station. So I think that came up at the last meeting. We're glad to finally have that under our control. And then I want to thank John and Public Works is helping us really get going, get that torn down. I think it's an eyesore in this village. I think everyone agrees. And kind of a safety issue out there with the way it looks and everything. So looking forward to getting that torn down and taken care of. But again, thanks for Public Works is helping us get moving on that.
Thank you, Dan. Anyone else? Next, we have item 10, receive comments from the board. Would anyone from the board care to comment?
I would, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Brady?
It bears repeating that October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I know we're at the 17th of the month, but it's very important to realize that, and early detection saves lives. So it is important to remember that, contribute, and support those that are suffering from this terrible disease, and those to donate as well to this fine cause to help eradicate breast cancer.
Thank you, Mr. Brady. Anyone else from the board care to comment? Again, just like to echo what we said during the cow. Thanks to all the staff for all the hard work, and our marketing department, and Donna Framke. You guys are really have taken a huge burden on with not getting more help to do what we're doing. So thank you for all the promotion of Tinley Park. And the Ale Trail has just been a great idea. That's just been phenomenal. So thanks again for extending that. Next, we will move on to item number 11, receive comments from the public. Anyone from the public care to comment? Hi.
How are you? My name is Marie, and I'm one of several residents from the 7800 block of 161st Street that would like to talk to you tonight. Over 20 of us are gathered here, most of which are original owners, building our home 33 years ago. We'd like to bring up concerns we have regarding rental properties in Tinley as a whole, but specifically about one in the center of our block, purchased and managed by Invitation Homes. We would like to share with you details of what we've lived with through police and code records obtained by the Tinley Park Police Department, the Village Building Department, and our personal accounts. I will present an overview. The next resident will go through criminal activity and code violations, a few personal accounts on how lives have been affected, and then we'll close with some thoughts we have on how to rectify the situation for the board to consider. The house was sold to Invitation Homes 9 years ago, and 3 of 5 renters were evicted. The process from here is always the same. The tenants are evicted, the house is gutted because of the destruction left behind, then it is put back on the market, only to be rented to the next vetted person. Some of the criteria for rental companies that is mandated by Cook County are that 1, the person that signs the lease live in the home, and 2, multiple families cannot occupy a single-family home. Both of these criteria have not been followed by Invitation Homes in this house, as well as others that they manage in Tinley Park. Both violations are at the root of most of the problems. Specifically, the gutting of the house because of damage is often caused by the numerous people that occupy the home, along with unattended animals. The last tenant had several dogs that were unleashed and ran the neighborhood, along with a spider monkey, which, if you're not familiar with, are wild animals that like to throw their feces around. Needless to say, that resulted in drywall having to be ripped out and replaced, which requires a permit that they never applied for according to the code records. Not applying for permits is their typical management practice, yielding a poor rating with the Better Business Bureau. And by the way, the spider monkey escaped and was finally caught by the post office, which compromises public safety. The destruction is not limited to the inside of the house, it's outside as well. Garbage is put on the curb in open bags next to bins, which inevitably spills out and blows down the street. The cans are then left on the curb for nearly a week on average, and then are brought in front of the garage door, never making it to the side of the house out of view. Broken glass litters the driveway, left from car windows being broken out, some of which have had bullet holes. The glass never has been swept up, just kicked around, making children and people walking their dogs with no choice but to cross the street. Another code violation is the grass and weeds growing over a foot tall and bushes covering the windows. Then the most disgusting was the urinating on the side of the house by grown men during the day, leaving a lovely stench. Not knowing at the time that broken glass, garbage, and urination in public were considered code violations, they weren't called into to be included in our reports, but they can be verified by eyewitnesses. Next, we'd like to explain in detail the activities which have brought crime and unease to our neighborhood and our community. We have dealt with drugs being sold at all hours of the day and night to random cars that would pull up in the driveway or strangers that would just walk down the street and up to the door. Especially upsetting was seeing Andrew High School students being some of those picking up drugs, and these pushers on the grounds of Helen Keller School, which is a K through 5th grade property at the end of the block. Not only were drugs being sold by one of the tenants, but another was a grow house and distributor. Fluorescent lights illuminating the basement 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Then once crops were finished, they had a pickup at the end of the month, where cars would back up into the driveway and large black hefty bags were then brought and loaded into the back of their cars. Aside from the drugs sold and grown, another tenant would like to bring stolen cars home, strip them of the plates, cover up VIN numbers, and leave them on the driveway or store them in the garage. These cars were called into the police and are now in our documents. Criminal activity over the years will be discussed with their next resident, and copies of the police records have been made for you in a binder. These reports from the police department include, but are not limited to, reports of kicking neighbors' front doors and subsequent stealing of packages from their porch, cruelty to another neighbor's dogs with large landscape rocks, fistfights pouring into the middle of the street, one during the day, another at night, with half-naked women fighting and screaming. These are captured by eyewitnesses along with supporting Ring camera footage, and most called into the police to be documented, but all of which making our neighborhood look like an episode of Cops and tanking the home values that we work hard to upkeep and maintain. We aren't sure why the Village of Tinley Park continues to allow these rental companies to come in and purchase homes, run them down along with neighborhoods, and bring deplorable people into our village without some sort of stringent regulations in place. Invitation Home specifically has shown poor management of their properties, and at the very least should have their license suspended. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to another resident, Jeff, who would like to go through the criminal activity.
Thank you.
Good evening, thank you for the speaking opportunity. I live in a single-family home on the southwest corner of 161st and 78th Avenue. I'm one house away from the rental property at 7819, separated by another single-family home. I'd like to share with the board some of the activity obtained through police event reports that the residents of 161st Street have been subject to ever since the property at 7819 became an Invitation Homes property. I hope it'll be made clear that the quality of life has been adversely affected by for the residents by the continued and repeated unlawful activity originating from this house. There are 20 event reports in total, 12 of which domestic, 8 of which are criminal, and all which prompted 911 calls. Please keep in mind that initially when the home was occupied by renters, calls were not made to the police and therefore not included in the event reports, but were reported off record by a resident, and arrests were made and subsequent eviction took place because of those records they kept. I'll give you a highlight of some of the remaining reports that we felt alarming and deserved our attention. In December of 2014, the Tinley Park Police received a call for suspicious people. It is believed that that call was related to drug activity at the home. In June of 2021, the Tinley Park Police received a call for a hit and run. A resident backed out of 7819 and struck a vehicle that was legally parked on 161st Street. That resident then took off. The following is the most concerning item for the residents of Tinley Park. In March of 2022, the Tinley Park Police received a call for suspicious people and/or vehicles. The vehicle was parked between houses, somewhat of a red flag. The suspicious vehicle was towed to an impound lot per the instructions of the Chicago Police Department. The Chicago Police Department confirmed that the vehicle was stolen. The vehicle shows damage and was to be dusted for prints. The VIN and the plate did not match. The plate came back to a vehicle that had been used in an armed carjacking in Chicago, along with other multiple felonies committed within the city of Chicago. On September of 2022, the Tinley Park Police received a call for a domestic disturbance. Parties were separated for the night. The female caller admitted to the dispatcher that they had 9 children in the residence, so I would assume multiple families. Tinley Park Police Department states that the caller's boyfriend was highly intoxicated. In April of 2023, the Tinley Park Police received a call for physical fighting in the street. The caller advised that 10 suspects were involved. Upon Tinley Park Police arrival, most of the suspects dispersed into either the house or the garage. As with many of these domestic disturbance calls, they spill into the yard or into the street. At that point, I am of the opinion that these are now neighborhood or community disturbances that affect the quality of life for the law-abiding citizens of 161st Street and Tinley Park as a whole. In June of 2023, the Tinley Park Police received a call for neighbor trouble. A resident, not of 7819, states that the occupants of 7819 stole packages from his property. This is supported by video evidence. The same resident states that the occupants of 7819 harassed their children. In the same complaint, the resident states that the occupants of 7819 have been throwing rocks at neighborhood dogs. Tinley Park Police approached the occupants of 7818 about these complaints. While the Tinley Park police officer advised the occupants of 7819 that their dog was off leash when he arrived there, they immediately became uncooperative, and the Tinley Park police officer advised the non-7819 residents, all of us that are here today, that he would report this crime to crime-free housing. Crime-free housing is a lease addendum that both the residents and the property management company are required to sign, stating that they will not engage in criminal or drug-related activity or violate local, municipal, state, or federal codes. As was mentioned, this is the binder with all the police activity at that address and that address alone. There's another binder for another address and other activity within Tinley Park. And thank you for your time, and then I'll let our next speaker provide their perspective.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. I live one house west of 7819. I have fond memories of growing up in Tinley Park, as my grandmother lived in Tinley Park for more than 70 years before she passed away. My father also grew up in Tinley Park. I built and bought my house in 1990 and raised my family there. And once the property became a part of Invitation Homes, there are some examples of trouble with some of the neighbors. I'd like to share some of those with you. One of the tenants started leaving notes on my daughter's windshield every morning, making her feel very uncomfortable and very unsafe in her own home. I remember people in all weather, all time of day and night, walking down the street. They would ring the doorbell, shake hands, and walk away. I may be old, but I do know what this means. With the constant traffic, my quality of life was in fear. It was at this time I purchased a firearm. It does make me feel slightly more secure, but these tenants were eventually evicted for dealing drugs. The next tenant with issues had multiple dogs. Dogs broke down the fence between our properties, constantly escaping their yard, running the neighborhood. They were either out in front and the neighbors would return them, or they were in my backyard, mixing with my dogs, which was always a little tense. Weeks went by, and the tenant finally fixed the fence on their way out, after another eviction, they did take down my mailbox as a final goodbye. These tenants also were one of the houses that drove cars between the houses. Woman got out, climbed on top of her car, slipped and fell because it was snowing. And I was, at that time, I did finally call in this activity because the dogs were going nuts, and I had to actually get up for work the next day in a couple hours. So, next tenant with issues was a different car and different families coming and going. Had problems with the children. They were the ones throwing the rocks at the dogs. And I know that I didn't put those rocks in my backyard, and they had propped open the fence with the logs, trying to get my dogs to escape. So it was at that, since it became a rental property, it's been a parade of people and families, some decent, others are nightmares. The house has not been taken care of, the grass is not mowed, landscaping is not maintained, and this directly affects me and my property values. I have made a commitment to live and I raised my family in Tinley. I am not secure of the future, and I believe this directly affects my quality of life. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Daryl, and I've lived in our residence for the last 35 years. It's my wife and my 3 adult kids. Jeff did a very nice job in summarizing the police reports of 7819, which is next door to, my home. These reports are only a small sample of the questionable activities that occurred at 7819 over the past several years. I'd like to speak about 2 regular occurrences that have affected my family's quality of life in Tinley Park since Invitation Homes has owned the property. Drug activity and verbal altercations have been a nightly occurrence between the hours of 10 p.m. It's in 5 a.m. at 7819. My youngest daughter works until 1 a.m. She will text us when she's leaving work. So one of us will wait out on the front porch. It's to make sure that she gets in the house safe. It's my 2 older daughters routinely leave the house at 5 a.m. Once again, they ask us to escort them out of the house and into their car each day to avoid any confrontations with the neighbors. During many of these verbal altercations, the combatants will scream as loud as they can, "I'm going to kill you." Excuse me. Whenever we hear these words, my family knows to get out of their beds, and to go to the other side of the house. It's my 2-story building, has vinyl siding on the bedroom areas, and we're just simply afraid that a bullet is going to go through the vinyl, and it's hit somebody in their bedroom. You know what? I think that I'm hoping that you could feel my pain in what I'm discussing here. I'm not sure what the solution is, but the rental property is, I think, a village problem, and we need the village to provide us guidance in direction to legally put an invitation on some kind of a notice. I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Daryl.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Marty, and I live across the street from the rental property, which unfortunately gives me a daily eye view of all that you've been hearing about tonight. 9 years ago, I was working, but when I would come home, I would see the daily rundown of the property across the street. Seeing this unscrupulous activity day after day, I decided to keep a log, documenting for the police anything I thought that might help them if need be. As it turns out, the police did use some of my log entries for investigations into the activities at the house. As this log grew thicker, the activities and the people of the house became more concerning and dangerous. I became nervous to report these activities to the police for fear of retaliation. I don't know these people's names, and I don't know where they will end up after they're evicted, but they They know where I live. I've worked hard to have my home, and I have no intention of leaving anytime soon. So in a year or two, when they want to come back and cause harm to my family or destruction to my home, they can. But still, I think it's important to continue to write down what I see. Entries included stuff like license plates of vehicles buying, selling, distributing drugs, other plates being jockeyed from car to car, one of which was registered as a stolen car, which we've heard. But as alarming as these sound, one of the things that unnerved me the most was the garbage bags dropped off on the curb by random cars, random friends, pulling up, opening their trunks, pulling garbage bags out, and dropping them on the curb. We don't know what's in those bags. They could be harmful. Not to mention the fact that they don't live in the house and they don't pay for the service of garbage. And it's not only because of the unsightly bags, but because I wondered why my neighbor and I were paying home with disposal when we could just share the service and pay half, do the same thing they're doing. I've since retired, and instead of being fully enjoying my retirement at home, I find myself spending time documenting activity across the street, feeling in some way that I'm protecting my family and my neighbors. I resent Invitation Homes for robbing me of my free time because I have to do their job. I would like to regain some quality of life back, and I hope you, our elected board, can help us in pursuit of some solution to this. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marty.
Mayor, trustees. My name's Jerry. I'm sure you know where I live, and I've lived there for 34 years. I'm next to Sandy. I'm going to give you a quick history of Invitation Homes. It was founded by Blackstone, the world's largest alternative asset manager. As of December 22, Invitation Homes owned 83,000 homes in 16 markets and is a $23 billion plus company. They are the largest owner of single-family rental homes in the U.S. These huge home buying companies have drawn extensive criticism from real estate experts and affordable housing activists. The primary argument is that these corporations are incentivized to keep repair costs low and fees and rent high to increase bond sales. The Washington Post found in the 3 markets it looked into that the company was half as likely as other companies to have permits for renovations. On Trustpilot, they have a 1.6 out of 5 rating, and the Better Business Bureau has received more than 600 complaints in just the last 3 years. And there have been numerous lawsuits, including a large class action lawsuit against Invitation Homes due to their practices. Also, a number of studies have shown that rentals are less well-maintained than owner-occupied homes. I have a second binder that has, from just 5 of their other rentals in Tinley, 40 event reports and 21 code violations of properties they manage in Tinley. And that's just 5 of the 35, not including the ones from the one next to us. These include, and I quote from the police code report, quote, property with standing raw sewage throughout the home, non-working plumbing, and conditions are so unsanitary, making it uninhabitable. Another report from November on a different house states, possibly vacated since May, Invitation rental homes with tall grass in a dilapidated state. That same home in December, complaint from a neighbor about a vacant home which had overflowing garbage cans on the street. The quality of life is being reduced not only on our street but in Tinley Park due to their practices and the extensive growth of corporate-owned homes in Tinley Park. We have shared with you tonight criminal and code violations from only about 1/3 of the properties owned and managed by Invitation Homes. According to the crime-free housing officer, there are approximately 35 rentals owned by Invitation and 300 single-family rentals in total in Tinley Park. It seems clear that Invitation Homes does no vetting of potential renters beyond the ability to give an initial check for 2 months' rent. This allows criminals and others who likely can't rent elsewhere to seek out Invitation Homes. Invitation hands over the keys and does no checkup until a year later unless they get calls from the crime-free officer suggesting they need to contact the sheriff's police to have them evicted. For Invitation Homes, these rentals are nothing more than a money grab. They couldn't care less how this type of renting affects neighbors or the communities they rent in. We strongly urge the village to take action with the following as considerations. 1, suspend or revoke Invitation Homes license in Tinley Park on the grounds they aren't managing homes properly. 2, we think it's critical for you to strengthen rental regulations in town, similar to what other communities in the country and surrounding suburbs have done. And 3, we would like to see Tinley limit the number of rental properties allowed in each neighborhood or community. We need to stop their abuses now before it's too late. While for them it's all about money, for us, it's not just our biggest investment, but we love our community and our neighbors. Thank you for your time and consideration. We look forward to hearing the solutions you will pursue to mitigate these issues within our village. Thank you.
Can I ask you a question real quick?
Yes, sir.
Can you give me those numbers again and what they owned?
They own 35 properties in Tinley. And this, I don't know if somebody who was taking the binder, but we have, on 5 of them, we had 40 event reports and 21 code violations. I don't know what Marty said the number in the one next to us, which
Thanks.
has been just a nightmare.
And the 35 are all homes or any of those?
Single-family homes.
Apartments?
Just
Okay.
homes, we
Okay.
didn't really consider
There's
apartments.
122 multi-tenant.
Thank you.
We didn't even get into those.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
So are these copies that we could have, or do
These
you
are
want
those
us
copies
to?
for the village.
We actually have 2 copies of both if you want both.
I wouldn't mind if I could have, if you could leave one for staff and I can have one, that'd be
Yeah,
great.
Absolutely.
You can just leave it there, Marty. Thank you very much. What's the difference between the two binders?
The black one is the 7819 home on 161st Street. The white ones are just what we just were able to collect in the last week of rentals right adjacent to ours, like 5 houses. There's so many more we could go into. We just tipped the iceberg, we really have. But
Thank you.
we wanted to separate it so it didn't get confusing. In the front is the criminal, in the back is the code violations.
Does anyone else, before I comment, want to speak on 106, not public comment, but 161st? You could just say it from there real quick if you want.
Some of the times, the original renters disappear. And that's when the other families and children move in. So the drug dealer one was rented to a nice elderly couple, which we never saw again until they were, just before they were evicted. So a whole year with other families in and out of the house.
Okay. Joe, the
Going
floor is
back to-
yours.
Thank you. Going back to 2021, I know it's a little bit before this. My neighbors all come over to my house. That's how we got through COVID. Saturday night, we'll start at like 9 o'clock, go till 4 in the morning. All my neighbors are there. We don't share the same anxiety as a lot of these people because we're well organized and we come from a different school, like, wish they would. But the point is this, there was a point in time for a few months where at 1, 2 in the morning, we'd witness 5 cars coming flying through at 100 miles an hour. They'd all go down to this house. Sounds vaguely familiar to what they're talking about. 2 people come out, they give them something, and this went on for weeks and weeks and weeks. At least 30, sometimes 50 cars flying down the street. So we contacted the police and we told them what was going on. And they said, oh, we're going to handle it and we're going to handle it. And what they did was they went after them for, they condemned the house, said it wasn't livable. And they did just what they said. I mean, after I talked to the police the last time, 3 days later, the problem was solved. They evicted them because the house is not livable. These people shouldn't be scared like this. They shouldn't be suffering like this. This is an opportunity for all of you. You know, there's 2 types of people in my world. You got problem solvers, and you got other people that kind of dodge the problem. The problem solvers, if they could fix this, their reward is growth. The people that go around and don't solve the problem, you know, their consequence is self-destruction. This is a chance for all of you to do something great. This should be 0 tolerance. We should not have criminals in our neighborhood. These people should not be scared. Nobody should. Nobody wants to live like this. And I witnessed it firsthand, and I'm just saying how they dealt with it then, and they did get rid of them. And the problem was gone. The speeding was gone. We watched them dealing drugs for months. And it's stoppable, and I'm sure you can handle this. That's all I got to say.
Thanks, Joe.
For now.
Thanks, Joe.
Can I just say one more thing?
Would you mind coming back up?
Just that, you know, you might think that our fight is against the renters, and it's really not. I mean, of course, we don't like any of this activity in the neighborhood. It's awful. And we've been dealing with it for 9 years. This isn't just 1 year, this is 9 years. Our gripe is with Invitation Homes. They take that money, I called Invitation Homes up north, and I said, what is the vetting process? Well, we just have to make sure that they don't have like 5 years of criminal activity. I said, oh, you mean the person that signs the lease? Yes. I said, what about the other 10 people that are living with them? Oh, well, they're not supposed to have them. But they are. They do have 10 people living with them. And that's on the low side. We think the last guy was actually leasing out the house, which is hilarious. I'd like to call Invitation and go, this guy's making money on your house. He's letting people come in and out. And we're seeing mattresses and everything else. But like I said, it's not, the gripe is not with the renters, it's with Invitation and their poor management. Their license should be, at the very least, looked at and suspended, because they don't care about our community. They have no skin in the game, okay? They may own that property, but big deal. We have worked our whole life for these houses, and we want to stay here. And we just ask you guys, just please take a look at what we're going through. You wouldn't want this house live next to you. I know you wouldn't. And I really just feel like we've really stated a good case for you to see that Invitation is not who we want in our village.
Thank you. Anyone else that hasn't spoken yet would like?
I live down the block from that house, and some of the things they said earlier about the dogs ran around for countless days. I couldn't let my dog out because their dogs are in my yard and running around. Brought the dog back myself one day, and they looked at me like, what? I'm like, put your dog on a chain or something, you know? And they just look at you. I see them throw garbage just from the door, just like whipping it out into the street. Every garbage day, there's crap out to the middle of the street all over, like they said before, broken glass. I don't know if the cans even get used, or why they got the cans if they're not gonna use them. I seen the drug deals, I seen, you know, I mean, I've heard, I came from Chicago, I know what gunshots sound like, and it ain't 4th of July. You know, is it from behind my house, so where the condos are? Is it from that house? I don't know, you know, but it's ridiculous. We pay a ton of taxes here. You know, we all got nice homes, you know, and like Marie just said, you know, well, we got no gripe with the renters. Well, I sort of do, because if you can't come to this village and have some respect for your neighbors and everything else, that I don't want you living here, and I don't care who owns the house or everything. If you got no respect for your neighbors, you know, threatening the kids, you know, I seen a group of them walking that they came with a whole car of kids, and they walked down the block, and as they walked, the soda cans went, the gum wrap, all the candy just went on the ground. I don't care. No conscience whatsoever to hold that till they get to a garbage can or anything. It just went on everybody's lawn as they walked down the street. Well, that's a problem with the renters. That's got nothing to do with who owns the place. That's the people who are living there. And if that's the kind of people that you guys want in, well, what's going to happen when one of them houses next to your house gets sold? What are you guys going to do about it? You know what I mean? Do you want to live like that with that stuff going on next to your house? I bet not. Especially paying the kind of taxes that we do here. And like all of us said, we've worked our tails off to live here in Tinley Park. I was excited to move here 30-some years ago. But holy cow, you know, when I got to like feel like I drive down the street and there's cars in the middle of the street and they stand there and look at you like, you wait, and when we're done, then we'll let you around, you know? Come on. You know, I mean, what do you want me to do, run you down? I mean, is that what we got? Is that what this is coming to? Is this going to be like Dalton or something, you know, next? It's unacceptable, just unacceptable. And I don't know what legal foot anybody has to stand on around here, but I know I don't like it in my neighborhood, so.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? No, so, obviously, these are, it's kind of shocking, this is the first time I've heard of this. Without getting into people, I've known someone on that block for the last 7 years, and this is the first I've ever heard of this. And it's obviously unacceptable. I'm not gonna get into details, and I wish if some of you that were concerned about this or fear because of your neighbor, and next time something like this happens, please feel free to contact the village manager. We could have we can get together and have a meeting. So some of you that were uncomfortable speaking publicly, I apologize. We can get together. We've done this before with other issues where we'll get together and we'll meet. We have a big room in the back of the village hall. We could always meet back there if people have concerns or they want to, talk about some of the problems if they don't want to air it publicly. This is not acceptable, and I'm not going to get into the details of what my thoughts are. The first time I heard of this, I think, was 3 or 4 o'clock today, that you guys were going to come speak today. My mind was already spinning of things that I'm thinking what I would like to do, that we're going to work on. I'm not going to say it publicly. I'd be more than happy to meet with you privately. No offense, but I don't need invitation homes, or maybe the homeowners watching. It's none of their business. They'll find out what we're gonna do. I'm gonna discuss it with legal. And the one thing I feel really comfortable about is having Police Chief Tilton and Village Manager Pat Carr in our EMA team, Lisa Cordum. They're phenomenal. You couldn't ask for a better chief to handle something like this. The fact that I'm watching him the whole time, just sitting there, trust me, he's absorbed every single thing that you've said. I could tell it's affecting my village manager. I don't see him writing many notes during these meetings, and I saw that pen nonstop going back and forth as myself. I feel horrible for you. Trust me, I'm just as upset as you are. I've had a neighbor before that was throwing ice at my dog, saying horrible things to my children, long before I was on the board, and I took care of it. I took the person to court, right? It's unacceptable. And it didn't weather well in front of a judge when you're sitting there trying to explain to a judge on why you were throwing ice at a dog, right? And so throwing rocks is obviously a lot worse than throwing ice. We will not accept this. Our board, our police department, our staff is very supportive of our residents, as we have always been. And trust me, there's a lot more I'd like to say if we weren't, in a meeting on tape. I'm very, I feel very sorry for you that you're going through this. I wish I've known about this before. There will be swift action. We just have to go through attorneys and double check on what we can and can't do. And part of the problem is, it's not an excuse for our police department, our village, is this horrible safety act that the legislators passed. We've had problems with people now that are standing on the corners with signs, the migrants and stuff, asking for money and all this other stuff. And our police are kind of put in a box by the legislators that passed this unsafety act on what they can and can't do when you have people walking in between cars. As you're sitting at a light the other day, I was sitting there and a guy was knocking on my window asking me for money. And the first thing I did was call the commander. And we're gonna be tweaking the ordinance for that as well, on what we can do. It's a shame that our police can't just be police and do their job anymore, because other people have a different way of policing when they've never done it their entire life. Instead of having, from our state police down, making these decisions, working with our police chiefs throughout the state of Illinois is actually disgusting. That now people could just stand on corners before. Luckily, we had Cook County State's Attorney Jim Glasgow, who I feel is the best in the state of Illinois, who was the only one to stand up to the legislators and Governor Pritzker for that safety act about people being able to just walk into your backyards and not being able to do anything, where you call the police and all they could do is issue them a citation and they can't even remove them. Luckily, people like Jim Glasgow and other chiefs that stood up to them I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, but I think that did get removed from the Safety Act now.
We can, after we cite that, we can actually approve certain circumstances.
Yeah, so they have changed completely, but we are going to do something. I just don't want to talk about it publicly because this really irritates me on having to live like that. And, you know, it's not right, it's not acceptable. There's no one in this room that accepts it. I think I could speak on behalf of everyone. There's no one in this room that is gonna sit on it, not do nothing or do anything about it. I can guarantee you the first thing tomorrow morning at 8:30 in the morning, our police chief and village manager will be sitting down with our village attorney, who also is here all day tomorrow, and they will be working on something. Like I said, I have some different ideas on how I want to handle this. I just don't want to talk about it publicly. It's none of their business what we're gonna do. What was I gonna But again, thank you for all the information. I'm not gonna keep talking about it because Invitation Homes doesn't need to know what we're discussing. And again, if you have any problems in the future, we have an open door policy. Feel free to contact the village manager's office, who's Lisa Valley, and we could set up a meeting to discuss. Please keep in track of like you're doing. That makes it easier. Your ring door footage, photos. Trust me, there's no one, my opinion, there's no one better to be in this position than having Pat Carr and Chief Tom Tilton. Probably one of the most trained and highly qualified chiefs in the state of Illinois, in my opinion. Am I biased? You're darn right I am. This guy was part of the detail for President Reagan, President Bush 41. One reason I always say 41 is because that's what he said, Bush 41. I don't know if that was the dad or the son. I know it's Bush 41. It stuck in my mind. He's also served with President Clinton, former President Clinton and former President Barack Obama. So there's no one with more qualifications than these two sitting at the table. So we will work on something. Again, I apologize. And if you guys if you could swarm Lisa after her and give all your information so we can stay in contact, so our police chief and our village manager are able to get a hold of you, whether we need more information or if you got to get information to them. Maybe it's something's too big, it's a video. You can make a share file or a flash drive. You can bring it in and just hand it to them, and Lisa can give it to whoever needs to get it. Just don't stop what you're doing. Don't stop providing or obtaining information. The more you provide, and let Chief, if you can get everyone's information, it'll be easier for Chief once they come up with a plan on what they want to do and how they can ask you for your assistance and help. Then he can get a hold of you. We can have a 161st Street block meeting. And you can discuss over some of the things that would make it easier for the chief and our village manager and our village to assist you. So that would be appreciated if you can get your information, Lisa Valley, and we will be in close contact with you and let you know as this progresses. And one thing I would suggest, yes, it gets frustrating and it's aggravating when someone's doing something. Please, for your own safety, don't approach anyone. Don't take law into your own hands. I know it's tough sometimes. We've all been there. That's why we have Pat Carr and Tom Tilton. Let them be the police for you, and just stay in constant contact with them, and just, like I said, for your own safety, just don't approach them. Don't say nothing. Ignore them. Keep doing what you're doing and obtaining information. That's all I could say about it. But thank you. The wonderful, when you leave, not before Trustee Shaw speaks, the wonderful lady sitting in the back, sitting next to, with her hand in the air, next to officer. Please give your information to her with your address and stuff so they can start plotting where what I'm assuming they're gonna do. So thank you. Trustee Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to offer, for myself personally, I agree with the mayor that from a tactical perspective, we shouldn't talk talk about how to address it in a public meeting. I think that's a wise course. Just want to say from my own experience, for what it's worth, I am very familiar with this type of situation. Years ago, I worked as a code enforcement officer for the Bolingbrook Police, and I also happen to live in a really bad part of town. So I'm familiar with this from both sides, and what I'd like to say is that there are options and there are things that can be done. It takes time, it takes investment, but I really empathize with you guys. This is, I appreciate the efforts that you've all gone through to document this, and look forward to seeing some resolution for you.
Thank you. So with that being said, I'm going to move on to item number 12. And again, thank you everyone for coming, and just please see Lisa and she'll go out in the hallway. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Next, I'd like to ask for a motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the public body or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity. May I have that motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Thank you. Madam Deputy Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Hey,
Trustee
Chief.
Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney?
Yes.
Trustee Mueller?
Yes.
Trustee Shaw?
Yes.
That motion carries. Thank you, everyone. We are adjourned, and we will not be coming back. It is 7:38 PM. Thank you, everyone.